Hello, my name is Alex. I am 30 years old, and a few months ago, I lost everything. I started a business with all my savings. I worked day and night. I dreamed of success, of people praising me. But one day, everything collapsed. The business failed. I had no money left, no job, zero in my bank account, and worst of all, I felt like I had failed my family. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I kept thinking, why did I do this? Why did I risk everything? I was angry at myself, ashamed, and lost all hope. I thought my life was over. But then, one evening, my mother sat beside me. She looked at me with calm eyes and said, Alex, you are too old to be a 10-year-old boy, but too young to be a 60-year-old man. Your life is not over. Stop cursing yourself. Forget the past. Ask yourself, what can you do best right now? What makes you happy? At that moment, something changed in me. I realized only a mother can bring her child back to life with just a few words. And then I remembered something. A dream I always had but was too afraid to follow. Cooking. I always wanted to be a chef, but I ignored it because I was scared of what people would say. I wanted people to respect me, so I started a business instead. But now, I had nothing to lose. It was time to follow my passion. But there was a problem. If I wanted to be a world-class chef, I needed to learn from the best. And the best restaurants are not in my country. I needed to go abroad. I needed a fresh start. So I made the biggest decision of my life. I decided to move to the UK. But how? I had no money, no job, no English skills, no plan. In this video, I will tell you everything: how I managed money, why I chose the UK, what happened at the airport, and the biggest shock I got when I arrived. Keep watching, because this story might change your life. At first, I thought about different countries. The USA, too expensive. Australia, too far. But the UK, London, it had everything. World-famous restaurants, a rich food culture, and most importantly, a work visa option. I researched day and night. I found that the UK has a huge hospitality industry. Many restaurants hire international chefs. And I also discovered something important. The UK has a visa called the Skilled Worker Visa, which allows foreign workers to come if they have job offers. But I had a problem. I didn't speak English well. How would I pass interviews? How would I work in an English-speaking kitchen? I knew I had to learn English fast. But how could I go to the UK without money? I had no job and no savings left. So I did 3 things. 1. I cut all unnecessary expenses. No more eating out, no more buying things I didn't need. Every penny was important. 2. I took a temporary job. I started working at a local cafe, washing dishes and helping in the kitchen. It wasn't my dream, but it gave me some money. 3. I sold things I didn't need. My old laptop, extra clothes, and even my old bicycle. Everything that could give me some money, I sold it. After 3 months, I finally saved enough for my plane ticket and some initial expenses. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start my journey. Finally, the day came. I was at the airport, ticket in hand, heart racing. This was my first international flight, and I was nervous. And then, my first struggle came. At immigration, the officer asked me something in English, but I didn't understand. He repeated. I panicked. My hands got sweaty. I tried to answer, but my words didn't come out properly. "Sir, can you repeat that?" the officer said. I took a deep breath. and somehow managed to explain my reason for traveling. After a long pause, he stamped my passport. I was in. But that moment made me realize something important. If I couldn't even understand simple airport English, how would I survive in London? How would I become a chef? At that moment, I knew. Learning English wasn't just important, it was necessary. Without English, I wouldn't survive in the UK. I needed a plan. So, on the plane, I made a decision. From this moment, I would start learning English seriously. But how? I didn't have money for expensive classes. I needed to find a way to learn on my own. And when I arrived in London, I got the biggest cultural shock of my life. As soon as I stepped off the plane at Heathrow Airport, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. I was finally in the United Kingdom, but I wasn't ready for what came next. The moment I entered the airport, I saw signboards everywhere in English. Baggage claim, immigration, customs. People walked fast, talking loudly, and I could hear English from every direction. Different accents, different speeds. Some spoke so fast I couldn't understand a single word. When I reached immigration, the officer asked me a question. I panicked. Again, what's the purpose of your visit? I understood purpose, but not the whole sentence. I guessed and said, tourist? He frowned. Tourist? How long are you staying? I wasn't sure what to say. My visa was for work, but I hadn't found a job yet. I froze. Sir, do you speak English? He asked. I nodded. But deep inside, I knew the truth. I didn't. Not enough to survive here. He sighed, checked my documents, and finally stamped my passport. I was in the UK, but my real struggles were just beginning. Outside the airport, everything was different. Double-decker red buses were everywhere. People walked on the left side of the street. The cars had steering wheels on the right side, which felt so weird to me. Everyone moved so fast and no one smiled at me. I needed a taxi. I saw a black London cab and got in. The driver had a strong British accent. "Where to, mate?" he asked. I had an address written down, so I just showed him. I was too scared to talk. The whole drive, I just stared outside. Beautiful old buildings, big shops, and hundreds of people. I finally arrived at my tiny rented room in East London. The place was small, and the rent was high. But I had no choice. I was finally in the UK, but I felt completely alone. The next day, I decided to explore. I walked to a local grocery store to buy food. Inside, I saw hundreds of products I had never seen before. Everything was in English, no translations. A worker at the store asked me, "You all right there, mate?" I didn't understand what he meant. Did he think something was wrong with me? I just smiled and walked away. Then I reached the checkout counter. The cashier scanned my items and asked, "Do you need a bag?" I had no idea what she said. She repeated, 3 times. I panicked and just nodded. She gave me the bag. I left the store embarrassed and frustrated. This was basic English, but I still struggled. How would I ever become a chef here? That night, I made a decision. Enough is enough. I have to learn English fast. I created a strict routine. 1. Listening practice, 4 hours per day. I started listening to British podcasts and YouTube videos every morning while eating breakfast. At first, I didn't understand anything, but I didn't stop. 2. Speaking practice, 2 hours per day. I talked to myself in the mirror. I repeated phrases I heard in videos. I forced myself to think in English. 3. Reading and writing, 3 hours per day. I bought an English newspaper and read one article every day. I wrote a daily journal in English, even if my sentences were simple. 4. Conversation practice, 1 hour per day. I went to local cafes and tried to order in English. I asked random people for directions, just to practice speaking. I forced myself to learn, no excuses. As I started going out more, I realized the UK had so many weird and interesting things. The weather changes. Every 5 minutes, 1 minute, it's sunny, and the next, it's raining. People always carry an umbrella, even when it looks sunny. British people are obsessed with tea. Fancy a cuppa? Means, would you like some tea? If you don't drink tea, they look at you like an alien. British people say, sorry, even if it's not their fault. Example. I accidentally bumped into someone. Instead of getting angry, he said, oh, sorry, mate. Weird British slang. You all right? Means how are you? Not are you okay? Cheers. Means thank you. Not just for toasting drinks. It's proper cold. Means it's really cold. Every day I learned new things. One day, I went to a local bakery to try British food. I saw something called scones. I pointed and asked, what is this? The lady smiled. That's a scone, love. Would you like some clotted cream with it? I panicked. What is clotted cream? I had no idea. Instead of asking, I just said, no thank you. I later found out that clotted cream is the best part. I missed out. One day, after 2 months of practice, something amazing happened. I went to a coffee shop, ordered without hesitation, and had a small conversation with the barista. For the first time, I didn't feel nervous. I walked out of the cafe smiling. I can do this. My English was still not perfect, but I could survive. And that was just the beginning. After 2 months in the UK, I finally felt a little confident. I could order coffee without fear, understand basic conversations, and even use some British slang. But there was still one big problem. I had no job. I came to the UK with a dream to become a chef, but how could I work in a restaurant if I wasn't fluent in English? A kitchen is a fast place. Chefs shout orders, waiters rush in and out. If I didn't understand quickly, I would get fired in a second. Still, I had no choice. I had to try. I started walking into restaurants and asking for work. First, I went to a small Italian place. Excuse me, are you hiring? I asked the manager. He looked at me, then said, do you have experience? Yes, I used to cook in Brazil. Okay, but do you speak English well? I hesitated. I am learning. He shook his head. Sorry, mate, we need someone fluent. Rejection. I tried again and again. A French cafe, a steakhouse, a fast food place. Everywhere the answer was the same. Your English isn't good enough. I felt like a failure. What if I never got a job? One day I walked into a small British pub in East London. A middle-aged man stood behind the bar. I walked up to him. Excuse me, are you hiring? He looked at me for a long time. You got experience? Yes, I worked in a restaurant in Brazil. He asked, how's your English? I took a deep breath. Not perfect, but I work hard. He smirked. All right, come to the kitchen. I followed him inside. The kitchen was small, hot, and chaotic. A young chef was flipping burgers. A waitress was rushing in and out, shouting orders. My job was simple, cleaning tables, washing dishes, and helping the chefs. It wasn't the dream job I wanted, but at least I had a start. I was earning £1,200 per month, working 25 hours a week. But life in the UK was expensive, and soon I realized I was barely surviving. Every month I had to pay for so many things. Rent, £600, 750 for a small shared room in a house with three other people. Groceries, £150, 190 per month for basic food like rice, pasta, eggs, and vegetables. Transport, £100, 125 for the bus and underground train. Phone bill and internet, £40, $50 per month. Other expenses, £150, 190 for small things like eating out, laundry, and toiletries. Total expenses, £1,040, 1,300 per month. That meant I only had £160, $200 left at the end of the month, and sometimes unexpected expenses would take that too. I felt like I was working just to survive, not to live. My biggest problem wasn't money. It was English. At work, I understood almost nothing. The chef spoke fast, using words I had never heard before. Pass me the tongs. What are tongs? We're running low on stock. Stock? Like money? Plate up, quick. Plate up. Put food on a plate. I felt lost. Every day, I made mistakes. The chefs got annoyed. The waiters got frustrated. I could tell they thought I was stupid. One day, I dropped a tray full of drinks because I didn't understand what the waiter said. The manager looked at me and sighed. Alex, if you don't improve your English, you won't survive here. His words hit me hard. At that moment, I knew. I had no choice. I had to master English. I knew I had to train my ears, so I started listening to British people as much as possible. I listened to customers at the restaurant and tried to understand their orders. I played YouTube videos of British people talking about daily life. But after a few weeks, I started catching words. Would you like? That's fine. Could I have? It was slow, but I was improving. Speaking was my biggest fear. I forced myself to talk to everyone, even if I made mistakes. I greeted customers with, "Good evening, sir." I asked the chef how to make this dish. I talked to my roommates in the house. I felt embarrassed every time I made a mistake. But I reminded myself, if I don't try, I'll never improve. I carried a small notebook everywhere. Whenever I heard a new word, I wrote it down. Tongs, kitchen tool for grabbing food. Stock, ingredients for cooking or supplies. Plate up, put food on a plate for serving. At night, I reviewed my notes and repeated the words out loud. One evening, while finishing my shift, a man in his 50s sat at the bar. He looked like a gentleman, wearing a suit and drinking tea instead of beer. I brought his food and said, "Here your meal, sir." He smiled. "It's here is your meal, but close enough." I froze. He corrected me, but nicely. "Sorry, my English is not perfect." He chuckled. "Don't worry. I was in your position once. I moved to the UK from India 30 years ago." His name was Mr. Patel, and he owned a successful hotel business. That night, he talked to me for 2 hours, giving me life-changing advice. The secret to learning English fast is this. Think in English. Don't translate. Just absorb the language like a child does. That conversation changed my mindset. If I saw an apple, I didn't think manzana, Spanish, or maçã, Portuguese. I just thought apple. Instead of translating sentences, I tried to form them naturally. I described everything around me in English, even in my mind. Example. Before. Okay, I need to buy tomatoes. But what's buy in English? After. I need to buy tomatoes. Let's go to the supermarket. It was hard at first, but slowly I stopped translating in my head. One evening, I was cleaning a table when a customer asked, "Hey mate, where are you from?" I replied naturally, "I'm from Brazil, but I live in London now." He smiled. "Nice. Your English is really good." I felt a shock of happiness. For the first time, someone complimented my English. After 4 months in the UK, my manager noticed my improvement. "Alex, you're doing great. I'm increasing your hours." Now, I worked 30 hours per week and earned £1,500, 1,900 per month. This meant I could save some money, buy better food, take an English course. 4 months had passed since I arrived in the UK. My English had improved a lot, but I still had a long way to go. I was no longer the nervous guy who couldn't understand simple words, but I wasn't fluent yet. I could speak with my coworkers and customers, but sometimes I still struggled. One night, after my shift, I sat alone in my small room. I looked around. A bed, a small table, a suitcase, and my notebook full of English words. That was my life. I picked up my phone and stared at my mother's number. It had been weeks since I last called her. I missed her so much. I took a deep breath and pressed the call button. "Hello, Mama?" The moment I heard her voice, I felt tears in my eyes. "Alex, my son, how are you?" "I'm okay, Mama. Just tired. Working hard. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough?" I smiled. No matter how old I was, she always worried about me like I was a little boy. "Yes, Mama, don't worry." Then she asked the question I had been dreading. "Are you happy, Alex?" I didn't know what to say. Happy? I was surviving. I was improving. But was I happy? I hesitated. She noticed. "Listen, my son," she said softly. "You left home to follow your dreams. Don't forget why you started this journey. I believe in you." Her words hit me deep in my heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what she said. Don't forget why you started. I had come to the UK to become a chef, not a dishwasher, not a waiter, a chef. It was time to take the next step. The next day at work, I did something crazy. I walked straight to the head chef, Mr. Thompson, a serious man in his 50s. "Sir, I want to learn how to cook professionally." He looked at me and raised an eyebrow. "You want to be a chef?" "Yes, sir. Cooking is my dream." He studied me for a moment, then laughed. "You can't just walk into a kitchen and become a chef, Alex. It takes years." I didn't back down. "I know, sir. I'm ready to work hard. I'll do anything." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Fine. You can start helping in the kitchen during your breaks. But if you mess up, you're out." My heart pounded. This was my chance. For the next 2 months, my life became hell. I worked my regular shifts washing dishes and cleaning tables. Then, during my breaks, I worked in the kitchen. I chopped onions until my eyes burned. I peeled potatoes until my fingers hurt. I stirred sauces while sweat dripped down my back. The chefs shouted at me. The heat was unbearable. I made mistakes every single day. But I didn't quit. At night, I went home and watched YouTube videos about cooking. I read recipes. I practiced cutting vegetables faster. Slowly, I started getting better. One evening, Mr. Thompson called me over. "Alex, come here." I walked over, nervous. "Translate this order to the chefs." He handed me a piece of paper. I looked at the order. Table 5. 1 beef Wellington, medium rare. 1 sea bass, no sauce. 2 chicken risottos. Without thinking, I turned to the chefs and repeated it perfectly. No hesitation, no mistakes, just smooth, natural English. The chefs nodded and got to work. That's when I realized I was fluent. I wasn't thinking in my native language anymore. I was thinking in English. That night, I walked home with a huge smile on my face. I had done it. I had mastered English. 2 weeks later, Mr. Thompson gave me my biggest test yet. Alex, tomorrow the restaurant owner is coming. I want you to cook a dish for him. I froze. Me? Cooking? For the owner? Sir, are you sure? You've worked hard. Show me what you've got. I couldn't believe it. This was my moment. That night, I planned everything. I chose a dish that represented my journey, Brazilian moqueca, a seafood stew. It was my mother's favorite dish. The next evening, I stood in the kitchen, heart pounding. The owner sat at a table waiting. The entire staff watched. I took a deep breath and started cooking. I poured my heart into it. When the dish was ready, I placed it in front of the owner. He took one bite, then another. Then he looked up at me and said, "This is incredible." The entire restaurant clapped. Mr. Thompson smiled. "Congratulations, Alex. You're not a kitchen assistant anymore. You're a chef." That night, I called my mother again. "Mama, I did it. I'm a chef." She started crying. "I'm so proud of you, my son." Tears ran down my face, too. I had made it. A year later, I saved enough money to open my own small food stall. I started selling Brazilian street food. It was a success. Soon, I expanded. My small stall became a small restaurant. People loved my food. I was living my dream. One day, I stood outside my restaurant looking at the sign. I smiled. I had started with nothing, no money, no English, no hope. Now I was a chef, a business owner, a success. I called my mother and said, "Mama, when are you coming to London? I want to cook for you." I was no longer the struggling guy who washed dishes, barely understood English, and lived paycheck to paycheck. I was now a successful chef and business owner. Every morning I woke up in my own apartment, a beautiful one-bedroom place with a view of the Thames River. No more tiny rooms or broken furniture. I had a team of employees working under me, people who respected me, learned from me, and supported my dream. And my income? More than I ever imagined. My restaurant made around $12,000 per month. After expenses, rent, staff salaries, ingredients, bills, I took home $5,000 per month. For the first time in my life, I was financially free. But money wasn't the best part. The best part was seeing my mother's face when she arrived in London. The day finally came. My mother landed in London. As soon as she walked out of the airport, I ran to her. I hugged her so tight I thought I'd never let go. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You did it, Alex." I took her to my restaurant. She sat at the best table, and I personally cooked her favorite meal, Brazilian moqueca. She took one bite and smiled. "This is the best food I've ever tasted, son." Tears filled my eyes. She looked around the restaurant, at my staff, at the customers enjoying their meals, at the sign that said Alex's Kitchen. Then she said something that made my heart stop. "I always knew you would make it. I just waited for you to believe it too." Now I want to tell you exactly how I became fluent in English. If I can do it, so can you. 1. Speak every day, even if you make mistakes. Don't wait for perfection. Start speaking from day one. Talk to yourself, talk to friends, talk to strangers. Just talk. 2. Think in English. Don't translate. Stop translating words in your head. Look at an apple and say apple instead of thinking of the word in your native language. Practice describing things around you in English. 3. Learn phrases, not just words. Instead of memorizing go, learn go to work, go for a walk, go out with friends. Native speakers use phrases more than single words. 4. Read out loud. Every day, reading helps pronunciation and confidence. Read news articles, books, or even social media posts out loud for at least 15 minutes daily. 5. Watch movies and imitate the actors. Pick a scene from a movie. Listen to the dialogue, pause, and repeat exactly like the actors. This improves pronunciation, tone, and confidence. 6. Keep a notebook of new words. Every time you hear or read a new word, write it down. Use the word in a sentence at least 5 times the same day. 7. Find an English-speaking friend. Join online communities, language exchange groups, or talk to English speakers at work. The more you speak with real people, the faster you improve. 8. Set English challenges for yourself. Speak only English for one whole day. Watch a movie without subtitles. Write a daily journal in English. 9. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Every mistake makes you better. No one will laugh at you. In fact, people respect those who try. 10. Never give up. Be consistent. Learning English is like going to the gym. You won't see results in one day, but if you practice every day, you will improve. Set a goal. I will practice English for 1 hour every day for 6 months. Stick to it, and you will see magic happen. If you're watching this video, I want you to know something. Your dreams are possible. You might feel lost right now. You might feel like you're not good enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. But let me tell you something. I was once just like you. I had nothing, no money, no English, no future, but I had one thing, belief in myself, and that belief changed my life. If you want to be fluent in English, you can do it. If you want to be successful, you can do it. If you want to change your life, you can do it. But you have to start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, today. Because one day you'll look back and say, I did it. And trust me, that moment is worth everything. Did this story inspire you? Comment below and tell me your dream. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories.